Hey, welcome back to Let's Talk About Tobacco. I'm Lee Keller, and I'm here with Janiece Davis, Barry Hummel, and Michael Feinstein. Getting it right every time. I'm getting good. Okay, we were talking about some of the social impact, and the addiction process really has an impact from many facets of life.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting too, Janiece mentioned, it really is truly a pediatric disease. We don't think of it that way because people tend to die when they're adults. But this process starts in children every year between the ages of 12 and 17. About 85% of new tobacco users start between the ages of 12 and 17.
Wow.
Prior to it being legal. And that's a big concern to me as a pediatrician because they're being targeted to make a decision before they actually know all the facts. But as Janiece just mentioned, the problem with that is that with a developing brain, those chemicals have a more significant impact on that brain as it develops. It's not a fully adult-formed brain. We're talking about pathways being formed and chemicals that can influence that. And so the earlier you start, the more addicted you are. And a lot of people believe that if you try to help somebody who's addicted quit, you ought not even bother until they turn 30. That it's incredibly difficult to get, both because of attitudes in the tobacco user, age, and level of addiction, that it's very hard to make them make a serious attempt. I'm not sure I buy into that, but I certainly know that the statistics for trying to quit under the age of 30 are radically different than they are past that. So it really is a young person's disease. People, again, they don't die from the addiction at 18. They die from something that the chemicals cause many years down the road. But if these kids are thinking that 2/3 adults are doing it, it's a normal thing to do, and they don't have all the facts to make that decision, they're really starting a horrible addiction at a very, very, very young age.
And this really has a negative impact on how they perform academically,
yes,
and athletically, in the fine arts, if they're doing something like that.
Well, even socially, right? I mean, we know when we talk to kids about tobacco, telling them that they're going to have cancer when they're 60 is kind of irrelevant. That's why the whole point of trying to have a 30-year-old quit is irrelevant. They don't think in terms of that. They're immortal, right? So the problem we confront with kids are, what are the short-term things? What can I really get them to buy into that are dangerous or different to them now? We know they stink. It gets in their hair, it gets in their clothes. We know their teeth turn yellow. We know that they age more dramatically. So even though that's not really a short-term consequence, that cosmetic effect is something that the kids really buy into. So we use all those things to kind of say, really, is this what you want to be? Because you're limiting yourself, honestly, in the dating pool. 17% of adults smoke, and most non-smokers aren't going to date a smoker, so your choices are limited. You're condemned, if you will, to that 17% of population.
Yes.
That's who you get to choose from.
Wow, you really narrow your choice there.
You do. You narrow your choices down and that, part of that's perception. But I want them to understand that when I see somebody smoke in public, I may see a very attractive woman outside of a restaurant, and the minute she does this, it changes my whole perception of that person. And that's unfortunate. And again, we've said many times, this is not about the smoker, it's about the smoke. But I still have that perception, and if I can translate that into the youth group so that they make a different decision, even about something as simple as dating, if that's the leverage I can get, and then that's the buy-in I can get, and I'll absolutely tap into that.
Go ahead, Jim.
I was going to say, it's funny how the kids seem to perceive that more of their peers are smoking when they actually aren't. But when we ask them on the FYTS, do you think that smokers definitely have more friends or are definitely cooler than non-smokers? Overwhelmingly, it's no, they're not cooler than non-smokers, and no, they definitely do not have more friends. So it's kind of like they think that there are more of their peers who are smoking, but their perceptions of the smokers aren't that positive. So that's another way that which we can use that too.
And it really impacts the kids who aren't at risk. These are the kinds of things that impact a normal, healthy kid who's just trying to decide what to do in the world and how to be an adult or how to fit in at high school. Look, there are people that are going to go out and drive without their seatbelt and try all the drugs on the street, and it's a small percentage of risk-taking teenagers. We may never reach those kids. But what we need to reach, the kids who are that middle ground that thinks everybody does it, it's a part of normal life, and it's not really that bad, and on and on and on. That's the group we really need to reach to make them make a healthier decision.
You talk about the impact that this has on their social life, and you were talking about their dating. You think about all the things that children today have to deal with from an early age, from the different things that tobacco companies do. You can have a kid that's a non-smoker, and he goes on a date to the movies, and what are they going to see when they go to the movies?
Overwhelmingly, people smoking in the movies.
Yes.
And there are some stars that feel that smoking is an integral part of their character in the movie, and they won't compromise that. And many of the movies and many of the TV shows, Mad Men, some of the flashback kinds of TV shows and movies where smoking was a very popular habit, much more so than it is today, this is what the kids are exposed to. And I know Barry has done a lot of work with the movies and the media and its impact and its effect on our youth.
Yeah, there's a tremendous, again, it's that social context where they see it more frequently in a movie than it is in real life, and it may impact why they think 2/3 of adults are actually tobacco users. You mentioned a TV show. I just watched the new Battlestar Galactica. Now, if you're not familiar with the show, the planet blows up and they're on a ship and they're traveling to go find a new place to live. It goes on for 4 years. It's amazing how long they continue to smoke. Where are they growing it? Where is it being rolled? What is going on? I mean, we're 4 years into the show and they're still lighting up machine-made cigarettes
in the future, no
and
less.
also drinking. Not to show that I'm biased, but drinking booze. Where's it coming from? I don't understand the logic to it, but yet it's embedded in this gritty war kind of drama. And it just becomes second nature, again, in an enclosed space where they got to recycle air, just like an airplane.
You really have to applaud the TV show Pan Am, because that's set in an era where smoking in airplanes was done, and they've eliminated it, showing that it's really not necessary to show tobacco use
That's
in a TV show, even though that era had a lot of it.
Nobody that's watching Pan Am right now is missing it. But if you flew on a Pan Am flight in the 60s, it was a cloud of smoke. That's all that was in that shell when you flew. And you got to applaud a filmmaker who does a period piece and decides to abandon that. We're transported magically back in time when we watch the show, but we don't have to have all that. There was another movie this summer that I want to applaud, and that was Captain America.
Yes, you mentioned
because there's
that.
a ton of superhero movies, and they all have cigar smokers in them. But Captain America took place during World War II. You know what we did in the United States in World War II? We gave cigarettes to GIs.
Right.
Gave them by the carton. This was part of their pay.
They were young kids for the most part.
They were absolutely young kids, and we addicted a whole generation through this process. To this day, they're still cheaper on military commissaries because they're not taxed the same. So here's a movie that takes place in World War II. It's all about the military, the American military. Not a single cigarette appears in the movie. What a great choice to make. And you know
That's
what?
a
I
great
didn't
choice.
miss it. I didn't miss it.
That's fantastic. When we come back, we're going to talk about more social impact, and we're going to get into Dr. Hummel's area of expertise, which is the movies. So don't go anywhere.